Chartered Accountants in the Maldives. He also holds international qualifications in internal auditing and risk leadership and a master's degree in audit management and consultancy. With over 20 years of experience in auditing and accountancy, he currently serves as the Assistant Auditor General. Mr. Fazil is also a council member and chair of the Technical and Standards Committee of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of the Maldives. He previously served on the State Internal Audit Committee at the Ministry of Finance.
Joining us from the Maldives Police Service, we have Mr. Rajuni Shoaib, the Superintendent of Police. He holds a Bachelor of Arts in History, Economics and Political Science. With extensive policing training from India, Australia, the United Kingdom, the United States, and other countries. Mr. Rajuni brings a wealth of experience spanning from police operations, intelligence, investigations, and administration, making him a pivotal figure in the fight against economic crime in the Maldives.
And finally, we are joined by a private sector expert, Mr. Iyaz Wahid, a chartered management accountant with over 20 years of experience in the hospitality industry. He currently serves as the Assistant Director of Statutory Compliance at Universal Resorts, where he leads risk and compliance functions across the group and its 8 resorts. He also serves on the executive board of MATI and has previously chaired the Maldives Pension Administration Office. Widely respected for his leadership and integrity, he continues to play a vital role in shaping the Maldivian tourism and finance sectors.
Lastly, the session will be moderated by Ms. Fatmat Ibna, Director of Prevention at the Anti-Corruption Commission of Maldives. Ms. Fatmat Ibna has been with Anti-Corruption Commission of the Maldives since 2015. As the Director of Prevention, her key responsibilities involve developing anti-corruption policies, conducting research on systemic corruption issues, and promoting awareness of corruption risks through targeted education and training initiatives. Ms. Fatmat Ibna holds a bachelor's degree in teaching and a postgraduate diploma in social research. Now, I invite the esteemed panelists and moderator for the panel discussion to the stage. I now hand over the session to our esteemed moderator, Ms. Fatmat Ibna. She will lead this insightful conversation with our distinguished panelists. Ms. Ibna, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So good morning, all distinguished guests, panelists, and attendees. Thank you for joining us this morning to what promises to be an insightful and dynamic conversation on the importance of establishing robust integrity measures, especially in the tourism sector. Tourism is not just any industry in the Maldives. It's a source of pride for the nation and a reflection of our unique culture and hospitality. Yet, like any other economic activity, tourism is not immune to the risks of corruption. From procurement to land leasing and service delivery, there are a lot of vulnerabilities that we need to discuss today. So the time is critical. We aim not to highlight the risks and realities of corruption in the tourism sector, but also to explore solutions and institutional safeguards as well. So we are honored to be joined by the representatives from the Ministry of Tourism, Maldives Police Service, the Auditor General's Office, and the private sector. They bring a wealth of knowledge and experience from the front lines ranging from policy, legal, enforcement, and private sector practices and institutional challenges. The discussion is about understanding the realities of the current system that is being practiced. To begin our conversation, let's delve into the core issues of integrity risks within the tourism sector. I believe all crimes except for a few offenses like tax evasion and corruption, all crimes related to the tourism sector are investigated by our Maldives Police Services. So as a law enforcement body, what are the main common forms of integrity risks that Maldives Police Service encountered in your investigations related to tourism activities? And in what ways do these risks threaten the sector's long-term sustainability? Mr. Rajni?
Assalamu alaikum and good morning. Like we all know that tourism is the lifeblood of Maldivian economy, and we all know that Maldivian tourism is a billion-dollar industry which involves high financial stakes and lots of regulation. We are also subjected to and it is very vulnerable to the integrity risks like corruption and other bribery and those kind of things, which especially in land allocations and lagoon and this kind of development in the area of development of resorts. We can observe many integrity risks, safety risks and security, but however today we are going to speak about most prevalent forms of integrity risks which we police service observes. There are several prevalent forms of integrity risks in the tourism industry which we observe and which poses significant challenges to law enforcement and undermining the sustainability and growth of the industry, which includes corruption and management within the state institutes, especially in, as previously I mentioned, in allocation of lands and lagoons, and tax evasion and financial misrepresentation, environmental violations, labor exploitations, hotels and resorts, funds being embezzled by the resort staff, money laundering and financial crimes, false and misrepresented information of services and standards, and also fraudulent booking scams. Amongst all, we find fraudulent and misinformation of services is the most common and most prevalent form of integrity risk. Maldivian tourism sector is we find proliferation of fake websites and online booking scams. This is the most prevalent form of integrity risk which we find. These risks have direct impact on tourists, creating financial loss for the individuals, businesses, as well as creating loss for the reputation of the country as a destination. Fake and professional looking websites and online booking pages have been created and which looks very professional. What they do is they entice tourists with very attractive packages and they ask for advance payments, but when the tourists arrive, they discover that the bookings were not made and they have been scammed. So these risks erode the trust in the Maldivian tourism as a destination, and also the legitimate businesses facing reputational fallouts and losing potential bookings. We all must work together to strengthen our digital infrastructure to gain tourist confidence in online bookings. And also we must increase internal and external collaborations to trace and take out these fraudulent websites and online pages. And also we need to increase awareness amongst the tourists as well as the businesses to bring out these risks. And we also have many challenges in investigating these kind of risks. So we need to strengthen our cyber and other investigation capacities to bring out these integrity risks. Thank you.
Thank you. Now that provides with a strong foundation to build on, and I'm sure these risks that you've identified are not unique, but could be mutual as well. Next, I would like to invite insights from the ministry. Now, I would like to ask the ministry's thoughts on the sector-specific risks, especially those risks affecting the CPI. So the CPI rankings shows that there were some concerning corruption risks, especially with the reclamation of projects and land leasing and infrastructure projects. So given the Maldives' position in the recent CPI rankings and growing concerns over corruption risks in these specific areas that I just mentioned, especially in the context of climate action, what are the views of the ministry on these specific vulnerabilities?
Bismillah Rahman Rahim, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning to you all. Thank you for this opportunity to share the Maldives' reflection on these risks, particularly in land reclamation, island leasing, infrastructure development, sectors that lie at the heart of our nation's economic and environmental identity. The 2024 Corruption Perceptions Index has rightly drawn attention to the intersection of corruption and climate action, an area of urgent concern for small island developing states like ours. As rightfully said by my colleague here, tourism is the lifeblood of our economy, bringing prosperity, jobs, and cultural exchange. Without sustainability, beauty that attracts visitors is at risk. So how do we ensure tourism grows without harming the environment? Let's explore the balance. Tourism contributes approximately 28% to the Maldives' GDP and accounts for more than 60% of our foreign exchange earnings. This industry is deeply tied to our environmental resources. Our country is home to the 7th largest reef system in the world and ranks 5th globally in rich marine biodiversity. However, Maldives is a small island developing state with 1% habitable land and 99% of ocean and lagoons. We have a population of 500,000 people and an economy based entirely on marine resources. So hence the land reclamation, island leasing, and large-scale developments are crucial for the development of our small nation. So we take a holistic approach and develop sustainable regenerative projects for the future generations. So we consider by allocating the available shallow lagoon area, which is considered as submerged available land for expansion of our industries. So once it is developed, a complete set of biodiversity is created that is more resilient, self-sustained, protected, and well-managed. So tourists visit us to the Maldives to experience the coral reefs, white sand beaches, tranquil environments. We have 93 protected areas across the country covering 63,400 hectares, which encompass lagoons, coral gardens, mangroves, and also seabed grass, seagrass beds. So the Maldivian government is working to expand the biosphere reserve network to additional atolls in the future. So the merger of the ministries, both the Ministry of Climate Change and Environment and the Ministry of Tourism, now presents an opportunity to streamline governance, enhance coordination, and ensure both tourism growth and environmental sustainability are addressed through unified and accountable framework. So after the ministry merger, we have started initiatives such as ecotourism development initiatives. We have launched new plans to develop nature parks in northern region and also the southern region of the Maldives. The president also has pledged for increase in renewable energy capacity to 33% of national electricity needs in 5 years from the current level of just 4%. So the merger of our ministries, they enhance the coordination, accelerate environmental responsible policy implementation, and reduces the institutional gaps where corruption may root. So the environmental impact assessment made for the projects, they serve as a crucial safeguard, ensuring that our development projects are planned responsibly, mitigating potential harm to our ecosystems and communities before any irreversible damage occurs. So to safeguard against corruption and environmental degradation, all major tourism infrastructure projects are required to undergo mandatory EIAs before approval. So it is done for all the resort development, harbor development, land reclamation, all dredging and channel deepening, all over water villa or infrastructure development, or other developments, including storage system establishments. So the EPA, or the Environmental Protection Agency, under the Ministry of Tourism and Environment, regulates the EIA process. While housed with the ministry, the EPA maintains functional independence backed by legislative frameworks. So EPA decisions or the EIA approvals or enforcement actions are made based on technical criteria and stakeholder inputs, not political interests. So in approval of the EIA, we look at integrity and we have consultant oversight. So we currently have 35 permanent and 8 temporary EIA consultants. They require to have education, background, technical expertise in that area, and they require to have work experience, and they should not be holding any political positions. So these consultants, they contact the baseline surveys, impact assessments, stakeholder consultations, and propose mitigation measures. So all these reports are reviewed through transparent multi-stage process, including public consultation and expert evaluations. So we have also digitalized this process to increase our accessibility and accountability, ensuring that all stakeholders, from citizens to civil society, have a role in its oversight. So I would like to highlight that we have things to do, including strengthening of our EPA. So the government is committed to strengthening the EPA's ability to enforce environmental measures through legislative reform, empowering the EPA with authority to take cases directly to court would streamline the process, reduce delays, and improve agencies' effectiveness in recovering fines. The government is also committed to empowering EPA, not only to enhance its capacity to enforce penalties, but to act as a deterrent against future violations. So in concluding, I would like to say the corruption in reclamation, land leasing or infrastructure is not a technical issue. It's a direct threat to our environment, our economy, and climate future. So the Maldives is committed to building a governance system where sustainability, transparency, and accountability are inseparable. So as stewards of world's most climate vulnerable and ecologically valuable nations, we understand that climate action starts with integrity. And we invite global partners to support and strengthen this collective mission.
Thank you. Now let's try to grasp the auditing and oversight perspective. So, Mr. Fazil, very briefly and precisely, could you tell us what are the weaknesses in financial management and procurement systems that you've identified related to the risks of corruption? Yeah, the floor is yours.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. And thank you very much for inviting me to this panel discussion. Thank you very much, Shamil, and also the anti-corruption equivalent in Saudi Arabia. Thank you for organizing a very wonderful event like this. Yeah, to precisely respond to your question, I would like to say that, when it comes to vulnerabilities in financial management in tourism sector, from audit perspective, we identify that, booking or sale of bed nights, okay, are sold at extremely lower prices, sometimes to the travel agent, which is actually the part of the resort. Resorts are running travel agencies as well. They're sold at lower prices to those agents, but in turn, the agents are selling at very high prices outside, right? So we are actually not really getting the TGST at the appropriate rate, not at the actual selling price. Yeah, because what we get is based on the price at which the beds are sold to the travel agent, but the travel agent is going to sell to the guests at higher prices. Why is this happening? Partly because there are loopholes in the system, maybe in the tax system. Laws and regulations are weaker in this area at the moment, right? Although we have got, Tax Administration Act, TGST Act, Income Tax Act, all this have come, but there are loopholes that we need to fill up, yeah? Plus, I would like to say that when it comes to the middle tier ones, or maybe we can call guest houses, at that level, we find maintaining 2 books of accounts, for example. As we all know, the very purpose of maintaining 2 books of accounts is to dodge tax, nothing else. Yeah, but that's not happening at the international, resort chain level or bigger resorts. No, it's I can't say, not for sure, but we haven't observed much that it's happening at that level. But at the guest house level, it's happening. All this lead to poor transparency in financial reporting and tax returns, and also lower, revenue, tax revenue to the state. How do we go about fixing the issue? Primarily, it's to do with introducing, some of you might know, destination principle to, tax regulations, so that we are going to tax not based on the, the price at which you have sold to the travel agent, but sold to the end user, so that we will actually collect the deserving revenue to the country. But for this, definitely there should be tax treaties that we have to enter into with our counterparts in other parts of the world, especially in European countries and other destinations from where they are flying to the Maldives. Yeah. Then about the procurement, I would like to say that when it comes to procurement of goods and services to the tourism, resorts, what we find is that, goods and services are procured from related parties at extremely higher prices, exorbitant prices, so that, the bottom line or the profit could be reduced. As a result, we are collecting lower income tax from the corporates in the sector. Yeah. Plus, in construction of resorts, we find that, prices are again inflated, so that, the bottom line could be reduced. Yeah. And there are some cases also, like in case of joint ventures and all that, we have identified that, in various forms like management fees and loans, whatnot, money goes out to the parent company outside, and the company might be making losses in here in the Maldives, so we don't really get income tax from that company. However, large portion of the revenue earned by this JV is taken outside the country by the parent company outside. Yeah. So how do we go about improving this? In my opinion, the way forward is to, bring the systems, fill up the loopholes in the, regulatory regime, and implement them in the true sense with sincerity. Yeah.
Thank you. Let's now hear from the actual service providers of their hands-on experience. Mr. Iyaz, could you tell us what are the major challenges faced by the private sector in upholding integrity in the tourism sector and its operations as well as the partnerships?
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum and good morning, all the distinguished guests. Yeah, from the private sector perspective, you would know that one thing I would like to highlight at the beginning is, in Maldives, last 50-odd years, the private sector has done, together with the government, something definitely right to become the world's leading destination for consecutive 5 years, and also to continuously maintain Maldives tourism investment as the highest return on investment in tourism sector anywhere in the world. Also, to place Maldives at the highest luxury bracket of tourism destinations, and consequently for many years to have highest daily average rate anywhere in the world. So definitely we have done something right. But definitely we live in a very challenging environment and very different environment compared to many other countries. So when we look at our business environment risks and the inherent risks of Maldives as such, you might even recall this is famously talked about when the UNDP survey during late 1960s, during President Nasser's time. It was suggested that Maldives is not feasible to have a tourism industry because of the way the Maldives naturally formed and the transport links, and which is very away from many other tourism hotspots. But we have gone and challenged all these narratives of what is normally known as normal, and we are very glad today even Saudi Arabia is developing Red Sea, taking Maldives as a model. And I think this is we have to be proud as a nation to do this. So what are the challenges in integrity in tourism sector for the private institutions, private companies? There are many inherent risks, inherent challenges. For example, except for fish, even fish is imported to Maldives. You wouldn't believe. So when we import things like, for example, the Auditor General, Deputy Auditor General has identified, we have to buy it from external parties, middlemen involved. So there are many risks associated with these areas. And also you should know that a lot of our workforce, more than almost about 60% of the tourism workforce are foreigners. And a lot of times, the people who are involved in the purchasing or finance and other areas who are decision makers in these areas are also connected with the suppliers from the neighboring countries, because the workforce also comes from the neighboring countries. I don't want to go to the details of the worldwide international trade risks and integrity and corruption in the regional and international level, but this is our challenge we also face as a private sector. Then the other challenges we face in implementation and compliance, like our Minister of State, also as Tourism Minister, has identified. Actually, we try to comply with our private sector is, tourism sector is the most complied sector in the Maldives, if you really look at. Though there are inherent risks and challenges which we need to overcome, and some of which the Deputy Auditor General and from the police also, they have identified some day-to-day things. And so these challenges we need to overcome, but we try to comply as much as possible. But there are certain laws and regulations we always talk with the government to make it align, because one of the reasons why people see more private sector is not compliant, or there are corruption or something like that, is actually because our laws and regulations are coming after decades of our development in the industry. It's not going aligned, it's not going together. For example, talking about EPA, I think one of the first time when EPA we were talking is when, for example, Sun Island was developed. World Bank insisted there should be an EPA. That time we don't, EIA, sorry. That time even we don't have our EPA established. We don't have environmental regulations, but because World Bank was funding the project, they wanted to do a EIA. So our regulations are way behind our industry development. For example, now at this juncture, we are talking about something called health and safety at work, for example. It's at the implementation stage. The laws have just come late last year. But in the industry, we have been following HACCP and some of the European standards and ISO standards in terms of health and safety for a long time. So sometimes, there are good things which we do in the industry, which are way ahead and better. At the same time, there are challenges and things we need to look at, definitely.
Thank you. Now that we've identified the major risks, let's try to talk about the solutions. So, Mr. Fazil, I would like to ask, how do you think the audit processes can be improved to proactively detect and prevent corruption risks, particularly in the areas of sustainable tourism development and land use?
Yeah, how could the auditors be proactive in emerging risks in the areas of sustainability as well as land management? Yeah, I think as the Supreme Audit Institution, the Auditor General's Office, there's still scope for improvement in this area when it comes to emerging risks as to sustainability. What I believe is that we need to, when we develop the annual work plan, we need to scan our audit environment better, meaning audit universe, to improve the audit universe. We need to look at the, annual plan of the ministry. What are the projects that they have for the year? There could be, leasing out of islands based on more sustainable concepts. There could be ones like, giving concessions to those that would bring renewable energy along with those projects, better waste management. So if we scan the environment better, we can actually bring our annual work plan to audit such projects. Yeah? And also, it's important that, when ministry lease out the islands, how far the ministry is looking at sustainability element in it. Yeah, how far do they monitor them? How well do they monitor? I'm not saying that they are not monitoring, but we, from audit perspective, we need to look at those things. Yeah. Then coming to land management, I think it's important that we, as auditors, look at what are those islands that have been leased out, but no much work has been done when it comes to developing or constructing the island, resorts. Should we take them back? Or why don't the ministry or any other, related agencies should give a push to ensure that, they do the construction as agreed in the leasing contract. Yeah? Should there be a need to take them back? Take them back. Because some of those islands are leased out at very, very low prices also. And in today's term, it could be nothing, peanuts. So we might have to rethink, yeah? Then apart from that, it is important that, when we bring the system, we sincerely and truly try to implement the system, right? It's like, in this part of the world, we say laws are mandatory, regulations are mandatory, but implementation is optional. So we need to, be true to our purpose, to ourselves, and sincerely would like to improve things, combat corruption, improve integrity, better transparency, financial management, so on and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I would like to ask Minister, could you please enlighten us on the institutional enforcement mechanisms that are currently in place to ensure transparency and environmental compliance?
Thank you for this important question. The Maldives as a country is highly dependent on tourism, as we have discussed, and deeply committed to environmental protection, and we recognize that transparent, accountable governance is essential for safeguarding our future. So we have therefore developed a range of institutional enforcement mechanisms designed to uphold integrity, ensure environmental compliance, and prevent corruption in tourism development. So environmental clearance, governed by both the ministry and EPA, ensures a balanced approach to development where sustainability and regulatory compliance are jointly upheld through dual oversight. So tourism projects in the Maldives, as I have previously highlighted, must undergo rigorous evaluation and approval process. So while the Ministry of Tourism approves, evaluates, ratifies development plans, the environmental clearance given to the project is responsibility of Environmental Protection Agency. So importantly, both Ministry and the EPA, they have the authority to disagree with or revoke even if a project is found to violate established rules and regulations. So this system of mutual check and balances, this helps us to prevent any unilateral approvals or ensures that environmental concerns remain central to our development process. So let me once again look at the EIA, as I have previously highlighted, the environmental impact assessment process, which is the cornerstone of our governance framework. So all tourism projects, such as I have highlighted before, resort development, land reclamation, channel dredging, overwater construction, they require EIA before any physical work begins. So EIA is administered by EPA. We conduct scoping meetings involving the local councils, technical agencies from the government, and also other stakeholders to identify concerns before project approval process. So under the Decentralization Act, all island councils and atoll councils are important actors for the stakeholder consultation process now. So I would like to highlight, by requiring this environmental review at the planning stage, EIA process prevents irreversible harm and promotes transparency in decision making. So let me look into the structured investment procedure. So to enhance transparency and reduce opportunities for favoritism or undue influence in tourism investments, the ministry only accepts proposals from 3 predetermined and regulated investment models. One is open bidding, the second model is closed bidding, and the third process is cross-subsidy model. So all investors must submit their proposals under one of these models and ensure clarity, fairness, consistency in how development rights are awarded. Projects are only approved after thorough evaluations and confirm compliance with all the criteria. So this system minimizes informal negotiations and promotes competitive and ethical investment practices. So government has implemented the cross-subsidy programs to attract private sector investment in key infrastructure projects, including tourism, resorts, and other strategic initiatives. Presidential decrees or have been issued to establish minimum investment thresholds and define the types of projects those are eligible for cross-subsidy funding. So these projects are planned for various islands and atolls with a focus on developing new tourism resorts and airports. So I would like to strongly highlight that most of these projects are also infrastructure projects, projects for social housing, utilities, road development, etc. And they are there and will help to meet the required balance. So I would like to look into also the institutional accountability and public engagement. As I have highlighted before, the EPA and the Ministry of Tourism with their compliance departments investigates the complaints from the public or any relevant authorities. Citizens and officials are also encouraged to report violations. Developers in found of breach of regulations face penalties as well, including suspension and revocation of their approvals. So the Maldives also has enacted a Whistleblowers Act in 2019, and which provides these legal safeguards for individuals who are reporting corruption. So this legislation empowers citizens to uphold institutions accountable without fear of retaliation. So as I have highlighted before, EPA function under the ministry maintains those legislative safeguards and its independence, particularly in approving or rejecting the EPAs. So there are efforts I would like to highlight to reinforce budgetary independence and provide leadership autonomy and legal authority so that they will be remaining free from political or commercial pressure. So I would like to say that these mechanisms have meaningful purpose. There is growing public trust in regulatory process, transparency in investment, and environmental approvals system has been improved. And there are challenges in ensuring full enforcement of regulations and strengthening institutional independence across the board. So moving forward, the ministry is committed for capacity building, for developing more regional monitoring mechanisms, enhancing digital access to EIA reports and developmental approvals, strengthening the EPA's operational autonomy, and also expanding civil society participation in monitoring the tourism projects. So Maldives has made very important strides in building a governance system which prioritizes transparency, environmental integrity, and anti-corruption enforcement in the tourism sector. These efforts are very essential, not only for our sustainable development, but also for preserving our natural heritage for future generations.
Thank you. Now, I would like to ask Mr. Rajani, could you kindly elaborate on the strategic initiatives undertaken by the Maldives Police Service to enhance integrity and reinforce accountability?
Thank you. VMPS has launched several strategic initiatives to bolster integrity and safety within the tourism industry. Safety and security will contribute to the ensuring of integrity within the tourism industry. Some of the key efforts which we have undertaken, like tourist security and safety enhancement programs, which are conducted in different parts of Maldives, which includes inspection of tourist facilities, ensuring the standards are met, especially the security and safety standards are met. And also we have we have conducted awareness programs for, in partnership with Ministry of Tourism and the tourist facilities. We have conducted awareness programs for tourists as well as the residents of the islands, local islands where the tourist facilities are provided. Also, like there are many administrative reforms in our strategic policing to ensure the integrity within the tourism industry. Establishment of tourist police and its development is one of the key efforts which we have undertaken to ensure the integrity within the tourism industry. We work very closely with the Ministry of Tourism and other stakeholders within the tourism industry to ensure the safety and security for the tourists, as well as gaining investor confidence. Among some other administrative reforms, like development and strengthening of financial investigation and economic crime investigation is one of the key prior objectives of our organization, that is to ensure the integrity within the tourism industry. Even now we have been conducting, we are undergoing investigations along with, jointly we are having investigations with Anti-Corruption Commission regarding corruption related cases in the industry. And there are many other community safety programs undertaken with partnership to the other stakeholders. These initiatives demonstrates our commitment to safeguarding the safety and integrity within the industry.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Iyaz, how can the private sector contribute to the dialogue?
Thank you. I think it's a very important question, and one of the reasons why Maldives tourism has come up to where it is today is because of the close partnership the private sector and the government and the enforcement agencies had actually. So it is very important we continue this dialogue and then we have this engagement. One of the, since it is highlighted even by the Deputy State Minister for Tourism, the EIA process, for example, is a very robust and very good process to actually to ensure that climate integrity is maintained in all the developments of tourism projects. And it is a must for most of us to follow it. And also, from the private sector, the only concern we have related to all these things is because, for example, Maldives has to have become one of the most taxed countries for a tourist, actually, to come to Maldives and leave. So one of those taxes we take is, for example, green tax. And we like to see these funds are actually diverted by the government also more towards the environmental compliance issues or environmental mitigation issues and things like that. And we like to see more transparency actually from the government side also, how these funds are utilized from the private sector also. And also, I think now also there is a very robust and good system by EPA where reporting and publicizing in their website of any environmental crimes by the private sector or any non-compliance by private sector, any fines imposed by the private sector. So this even hits to the bottom of the integrity of a private sector organization, hospitality organization as well, because today we know that our guests are very concerned about the environment. And even the next generation of travelers, the Gen Zs, are more concerned about the environment and integrity and the globe as a whole, rather than this is their problem or our problem, especially after the pandemic, I think. So it is important for us. And also it is important for us to, from the guest's perspective, because guests are the people who are paying our government tax to ensure these things are done. So it is very important and how we mitigate. And one of the major challenges we have, and even on the compliance side with related to environment, actually getting rid of the enormous amount of garbage which is created in Maldives. But I think the government also have plans in establishing regional waste management centers. And from the industry point of view, we like to stop ocean dumping. You know, I mean, because there was a history of dumping some food waste on the ocean and things like that. We like to come to a point we don't dump anything. So these are some of the environment risks and hazards we like to overcome. But I think from the government side also, we need fast action to ensure these regional waste management centers are in full operation as soon as possible. And also on the other side, some of the points, for example, my friend Fazil highlighted from the audit point of view also. One of the reasons why these intermediary or transfer pricing and all these things happen between the financing and also repatriation of funds, and also in terms of the price quoted for tour operators, and all those things actually have a certain, the nature of business itself. And one of the ways I think the government and other sectors, especially finance sector, can really support the industry to ensure that we can overcome these challenges from the private sector is actually building a more resilient finance sector. You wouldn't believe 90%, more than 90% of all the investments, private sector, even if it is local investors, have to borrow from abroad. So this again opens up for a lot of compliance and inter-border transaction challenges for us, and also for Maldives to keep the capital in Maldives. Also, it is a challenge. So I think this is one of the areas we need to think about going forward. And I'm quite happy to see the news from the government working on the International Financial Center and entering into a good deal recently as well. So I think with these new developments, it will make it easier for private sector also to ensure more compliance and minimization of the corruption issues within the industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Iyaz. I know the discussion is quite interesting and we could go on, but I think we'll take a few questions, one or two from the audience, just as there are, yeah.
Thank you very much. I am Suhail Nasir, Deputy Chairman NAM from Pakistan. There is a Maldives Tourist Act 1999, I hope so, which has 15th Amendment in March 2025. And I believe there are many other laws in Maldives dealing the question of corruptions with reference to tourism. My question is that it may be a misleading, it may be a false statement, it may be a non-disclosure to a tourist. All these fall within the category of corruption. The ultimate victim is the tourist. Can you explain that if a tourist has been cheated or misled in the Maldives and he is left to his country with a complaint lodged to you, how is to be compensated? Because the most primary objective of tourism is to gain the confidence of a tourist. He is left for his country. He doesn't know what happened to my complaint and how it has been redressed. I want clarity on this issue. Thank you.
Mr. Iyaz?
Thank you. If I get the question right, you wanted to understand how, if a guest is being cheated or something like that, how he gets the compensation and things like that, right? And actually, from the industry perspective, we even every year on our operational budgets, budget certain amount for compensation. So, because we have, we know for a fact that it is important to keep the integrity and the goodwill of the guest to ensure that, because the Maldives tourism, all the surveys show that actually it is word of mouth of the tourists, the satisfied customers who have gone back, actually talked good about Maldives, which has helped to develop our industry rather than any other form of marketing. So one thing is, certain things what we ensure is in the industry itself is actually to make sure we work with good and reputed partners. So even today, for example, 30% of our occupancy comes through OTAs, online travel agencies like Booking.com or Agoda and places like this. These are well-established, internationally respected OTAs. And also the tour operators. Sometimes we get issues with small tour operators or small travel agencies from some destinations, and they approach us. But a lot of times, the resort operator has taken the burden of any issues most of the time. But there are times, for example, the guests themselves try to cheat, for example, to claim the compensation, and we have to sometimes get even police involved in those kind of cases. But these are very rare. So this is how we ensure they have a good holiday, and we always, and one of the ways we try to do is actually to get the funds in advance from the tour operator, so that there is no issue with actually the guests trying to leave, and then they find out their holiday is not being paid by the tour operator, and they cannot leave the island without paying, or they have to pay twice, or to eradicate all these things, we try to actually get the funds in advance while the guest is here, or before even the guest arrives. So we have a system like that to ensure that these things are happening. And also, if worst case scenario, if something happens from a guest, also from the time the guest reports, every resort will very seriously, even a simple issue like, for example, somebody slipped and injured their knees while they are on a beach or in a water bungalow or something like that. There are incidences. Even these cases are taken very, very seriously, and we ensure that we facilitate the guest every possible way to ensure they get proper treatment. And even if we have to go to the extent, because if it is the fault of the resort, to even repay their entire holiday, we go to that extent of doing that. Thank you.
Ok, merci beaucoup. Bonjour à tous. Moi, c'est Madame Kadiga Salif Moumouni du Niger. Donc, je félicite vraiment les... Je parle en français.
Could you kindly repeat the
Yeah,
question,
et-
please?
Voilà, je voulais m'adresser à Monsieur Ias du secteur privé. Là, parce que je voulais aussi parler de mon pays, ce qui se passe au Niger dans le secteur privé, parce que là, j'apprécie beaucoup, en tout cas, ce qu'il a décrit en termes de collaboration entre le secteur privé et le gouvernement. Au Niger, par exemple, le problème qui se pose, c'est que c'est cette concurrence déloyale. Et je voulais savoir, parce que
for the it doesn't really cost a lot in Niger. For it never exceeds 150 euros, so there is no corruption in this aspect. However, the problem is that is competition. When you actually build your hotel and there are seminars, there are always, for example, when we host people and they should be in the hotel, and today there are hotels that are being confiscated by banks because the private sector receives loans in order to receive tourists, but there are no clients. And at that time, then he's forced to close down, and then there are a lot of expenditures, electricity bills, etc. And if you don't do that, then you need to operate the hotel in any way, even if you don't have clients, even if you have a little number of clients or guests. So in the field of restaurants, but because here we are speaking about hotels, accommodation, restaurants, but also the vehicle rents. When you have an event, if, for example, for a coffee break, sometimes the governor sometimes of the hotel gives this task to his wife, for example, sometimes in order to save money, and there are also some other rentals that he does when he has a conference. And these are the difficulties that we face in our country, and I don't know how you're dealing with such situation and how you guarantee such a good cooperation with the government. Is there disloyal competition at this level? And what are the good practices that we could draw from your experience to learn from it? Thank you.
I think again the question, yeah, Minister?
Thank you very much for the question. To ensure, I think the question was about how the partnership or the collaboration between government to ensure that the malpractices in the industry not happen, right? And also to ensure that we give an excellent service to the guest without compromising the required laws and regulations or to having the integrity of the process. So I think this is very important because one of the, like I said earlier, one of the most successful principles of Maldives tourism is actually putting guest at the heart of all our operations, everything. We not only treat guests like the king, the customize the king, but we also treat the guest like our own family. So this is the secret of Maldives tourism. We don't just treat them like once you are on this island, you are part of the island community, island. You become a Maldivian. When you are in this Villa Nautica, for example, you become part of the Villa Nautica family. So we take care of the guest as if we are taking care of our own brothers and sisters. So then to ensure this process, so if we will not treat our family bad, right? That is the general assumption. So to ensure that the whole process, whether we, like you highlighted, whether we have in conference, we make sure, because the beautiful thing about Maldives is everything in Maldives has developed across the world-class tourism industry we have built. So for example, even today we have event management companies who organize these events. The days we didn't had event management companies, the days we didn't had musicians, we brought world-class musicians from other countries, neighboring countries, like Sri Lanka. When we didn't have event management companies, there were days when we started having events, we didn't even have proper sound systems in Maldives, or lighting systems, for example. From where it came? From India, Sri Lanka, Singapore. So we ensured we give good service. We don't compromise on the quality of service we provide to the guest at any touch points of service. That is, I think, the secret of how we have been able to build a world-class industry. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you. Now that marks the end of the panel discussion. Thank you once again, all panelists, for your time and engagement. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you to all our panelists for sharing their valuable insights on integrity and corruption risks in the tourism sector. Your perspectives have deepened our understanding on the challenges and solutions in building a more robust